Okay, I lost the signal there, but we're back on. So I'll give everyone a moment to regroup. But as I was mentioning, I was talking about the sound of Om. And M represents deep, dreamless sleep. So consciousness is there. The heart is ticking, the body will respond to hot and cold, and so on and so forth. Waking consciousness is of the ego, and it is not in touch with consciousness. It is wiped out by darkness. And the goal of yoga is to bring waking consciousness into the field of into the field of this consciousness that we see, but be awake. You might say we're all living a personal dream, but when we become conscious, we recognize that this is a dream, and therefore we see everyone in this life as an aspect of ourselves. So, aloha, do you hear us? Welcome. Now, as we move up, well, let's go back to anahata, the level of the fourth chakra. So how are we awakened to the level of the fourth chakra if we're operating on the same instincts as animals regarding our own health, wealth, and progeny, mainly concerned with ourselves? Well, it is said that the Buddha, when he was born from his mother's side at the level of the heart chakra. Now, in reality, he wasn't born from his mother's side. It's a symbolic birth, just as it's said that Christ wore his heart on his sleeve. Well, the sleeve is at the heart level of the heart chakra. And when we are awakened to compassion, it is said we are then operating at the level of the heart chakra. So how do we awaken ourselves to compassion? Well, by utilizing the energies of the first three chakras. If we're concerned with our health, wealth, and progeny, what we do is we take that same energy that is instinctually projected outward and we turn it back in on ourselves. And in doing so, you then realize, if I'm sheerly clinging on to life, that means there is a force that is keeping me here in consciousness. And I identify with that source. We're all basically the universe, an aspect of the universe. What I mean by that is the universe, according to science, is made up of 5 basic building blocks: carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and helium. And our bodies are also made up of these same 5 elements: carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, and helium. And the word religion, the root of religion is religio, and that it means linking back, linking this body to a source, a transcendent source, out of which everything comes and back into which it goes. And that's essentially what transcendent means. It means transcend, to go beyond. And you might say the visible world that we see is supported by the invisible world that we do not see. The subatomic particles in our body tell us this. And that's what we are. That's what we all are, is energy vibrating. And the idea of yoga is to wake up to the reality that we are all shining points, shining beams of light that all cross at one center. You might say that God or the universe is an intelligible sphere known only to the mind. whose circumference is nowhere and center is everywhere. And the center is right where I'm sitting, and the center is right where you're sitting. And so each of us is an aspect of the one energy that is radiating through all things. Then when you get to, so now we're turning this energy back on ourselves. So what does that mean? Well, in my own experience, me clinging on to sheer life and being reactive, it finally dawned on me. Thank you for the hearts. Aloha Dee. Yeah, my broadcast did cut out, but it seems like it's back on. So we'll just roll with it. If I'm coming through clearly, let me know. I'm sure whoever was on before will somehow pop back on. It is why I emphasized earlier to turn on live notifications. When I'm on, you'll be notified. But we're all here together, and you can always catch the replay on my Facebook authors page. So I see the numbers rising as we speak. So now, in order for me to get past my reactive personality, I needed to find out what it was like to have a response to life. And whatever you are seeking, it is also seeking you. And because I started holding higher thoughts and being so frustrated with how my life was not going anywhere and how everything upset me and offended me, when you follow a journey, doors will open where none had existed before. And through those doors will walk individuals that bring something to your life that may have been missing before. And in my case, I started attracting individuals that matched the idea of where I wanted to be. I didn't know exactly how I wanted my personality to develop, but because the frustrations of my life became so compounded, that's how it works. Life pushes you farther, deeper into darkness until eventually you pop out of the other side into the light. And that is made possible by mentors and guides who start coming into your life when you start vibrating at a different level mentally, when you start meditating or thinking about things that you would like your life to look like instead of what it currently looks like. And because of that, I started attracting individuals into my life that taught me how to respond to another person rather than react. And in relation to the second chakra, then I started attracting individuals that had so much love for themselves that despite my sexual aims towards them, they showed me what it's like to be a centered human being, to love yourself so much that you are impervious to the reactive libido of someone else. You're not just going to sleep with someone just because you can. And I started getting examples of women who came into my life that loved themselves like that. And instead of them saying, well, I'm the answer to all your problems, they utilized their lives to serve as an example of what I could become. And because I saw that they were so confident in themselves, the love that they gave themselves really radiated outward, which attracted me to them. But because they were in a mindset of, okay, this is what you can now become. And that's essentially what I started to become. They weren't going to give in and just say, okay, you win. These are people who conduct their lives with integrity. And so I took that energy that I was always projecting outward, and I turned it back in on myself. And what I experienced was, you know what? Friendships are valuable. true compassion for another person, understanding of the other person, is what started to take over my consciousness. And before I knew it, I started to see women as, you might say, sisters, the way I call everyone a brother and a sister. And you can see how your psychology changes when you have the attitude towards someone as a family. And because I started embracing family, which is something that has always been, you might say, missing or minimal in my life, because I only had my mother's influence, and she was an only child. And though I have a few other siblings that are older, we have no connection. It's not a personal thing. We just never drifted towards one another. And so I've always kind of seen myself as a lone wolf. And one of the things I've craved is the sense of family. So when I wrote my book, I wrote it with the intention of helping other people achieve the same kind of consciousness that eventually this stubborn brain of mine achieved. And therefore, I don't feel that blood is thicker than water. I feel that anyone who considers me a brother is automatically family to me. And so all of you are my extended family, which is why I give this information freely, because I know that there are individuals out there that will give you the keys to the kingdom if you give them X amount of dollars or whatnot, which is totally respectable. Everybody has the right to find their own way. For me, I'm just compelled for some reason to give. And I'm always receiving. I've definitely struggled in my life, but I'm receiving. Just like I'm receiving these messages. Okay. Hello, Amber. Thank you for sharing your insight. You're welcome, Tina. So then I got to the third chakra, which is the smashing and trashing and conquering of others. Again, I took that instinct and I turned it in on myself. There were times when I can recall, anytime I saw someone who had more success than I did, I said, earmuffs, kids, but fuck that guy. I had this instinct that had jealousy and envy, and these are all energies that keep you stuck at a lower vibration. And you can tell because you run into other people who are, I've heard it put this way. There's a saying that says, when a crab falls into a bucket of crabs and tries to climb its way out, all the other crabs pull at it to pull it back down. And so I was a crabby guy because I was surrounded by other crabby people. So that is what I experienced in my life. I could never get beyond what I wanted to because I was constantly attracting to myself people like myself who kept me stuck, until I started to have other individuals who came into my life who loved me unconditionally and showed me by their own example how I could have potential to be something more. And then, poof, it worked. I was awakened to Anahata, the chakra at the 4th level, where now I have compassion for others. And thank you, Deborah, and hello, Amber. And you're on your way, Tawana, to a new life. We all are. So now when I go throughout the world, I do see everyone as a brother and a sister, and the energies that I had of always wanting something from someone is now replaced with the attitude of how can I be of service to others and be the change that I wish to see in the world, Gandhi's famous admonition. So once we get to the 4th chakra, then the energy keeps going on up the spine. And when we get to the fifth chakra, it is called Vishuddha. This is sort of a purging of your animal instincts so that you are open to that transcendent energy that recognizes itself in all other things. Therefore, you would not have aggression to someone else because you are awakened to, in your consciousness, that whatever you do to someone, you do to yourself. Thank you, obvious. So once you get to the fifth chakra, and you will start to recognize the oneness in everything, not only in your fellow human beings, but how you're one with the trees and the animals and the plants, and these are all aspects of the one energy that is permeating us and animating us. Then when you move to the sixth chakra, which is located, I believe, at the fifth chakra is at the throat, and the sixth chakra is at the forehead between the eyes, and it's called Anya. That is where your soul beholds its object. In other words, you see your God, that energy, you recognize it, you see it in all things. And it can be compared to a moth that sees the light of a flame, but the flame is on the other side of the glass, and so the moth pounds itself against the glass trying to get to its object. Individuals who dedicate so much time to their religion, which is beautiful, by the way, sometimes look a little ragged. And one day, though, by chance, luck, circumstance, maybe the glass broke, the moth breaks past the final object between itself and its God and becomes the flame. You might see it as the moth being burned by the flame, but essentially the moth becomes the flame. And that is the chakra at the crown of the head, and that is called Sahasrara, where you and your God are one. There is no differentiation between you and your God. And you can achieve these levels of consciousness here on earth by daily meditations, practices, and having a higher aim for your life. In my own experience, I can attest that doors will open for you as they have for me. And sharing this information, this knowledge with all of you is perhaps a door that's opening for you, and having all of your support is certainly a door that's opening for me. And I chose to kind of venture out on this adventure that has no end in sight. I booked a one-way ticket out here to Ireland, not because I am completely disenchanted by my country. I love it because there's a lot of beautiful fellow Americans scattered all over it, and in the 50s, during the Second World War, everybody was pulling towards the same effort, and somehow we've gotten away from that, and it is my aspiration in life to bring us back to that, where we're all pulling towards the same effort, not because someone tells us to, but because it's our natural impulse, our natural instinct. It pains me when even here in Dublin, there are homeless, and when they're sitting on the side of the street or sidewalk with a cup in their hand asking for change, and I just look forward, not because I don't have compassion for them, but it goes back to that example I've heard so many times, that when you're on an airplane and the oxygen masks drop, you have to put your mask on before you can assist another person. And so the way I put my mask on is, and maintain my health, is through my daily practices, because I cannot lift somebody up if I'm on lower ground than they are. And so if it does pain me to see these individuals who are out there that have nothing, or people are just passing them by, not paying any attention, there are people paying attention. I'm one of them. And it is my determination that the best way I can be of service to them is by being of service to myself and continuing to build myself up spiritually, so that I can go and share all this with you, so that all of you can walk alongside me, or whomever you wish to follow, whether it's a life coach, a guide, a guru. But I wish to be the change I want to see in the world. Amber says, it is typical to have a constant pressure in the center of the forehead. Could this be due to a blockage? In my experience, yeah. Essentially, that is what pressure is. You know, whatever you push down is going to come back up, and with a vengeance. Just imagine a basketball that you try and push under the water, and the deeper you push that ball down, the moment you release it, it's going to shoot up to the surface, because the force that is exerted down below is the force it gives that is returned. Here, I'm going to try and situate my phone here to give you a demonstration of what I'm talking about. So in the energy, in the world, everything is made of energy, and perhaps everyone has heard this, but for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So here's energy, boom, it comes and hits this object. This object doesn't go any farther than the energy that was put in it. So this has the same impulse to come back and react, and everything just goes back and forth. In practical terms, if you've ever seen, if you've ever been reactive with someone, and you start off, let's say you meet somebody for the first time, or it's a friend even, and you start off with a sour personality, whether it's in the phone or in person, you're giving off energy because you are made up of the universe. But guess what? The person across from you is also made up of the universe. So when you send that energy out, that other person is simply responding to that same energy because they are an aspect of yourself, and what you put out, you get back. That's why a sphere is the most, you might say, energy efficient form. Energy has nowhere else to go but back to itself. And so the way you neutralize that is, let's say you start off reactive. Well, the person responds back to you in a negative way. You immediately, rather than say, well, there's the person to blame, you take that energy of all the chakras and you turn it back into yourself, and you say to yourself, or think to yourself, what is my reaction to this person saying about myself? It's never about putting the blame on the other individual. It's always bringing everything back to yourself. So even if you look at political figures in the world that may have attributes that are less than favorable or compassionate, rather than saying, screw that guy, these are simply mirrors. These are individuals that have come into all of our lives to show us something about ourselves. So if they lack compassion, you can ask yourself, how am I lacking compassion? If they are out for themselves, you can ask yourself, in what ways am I simply looking out for myself? And when you look at individuals that way, they are merely symbols telling you where you're at in your life. And that's all religion is. It's a series of symbols. It's not that Christ died and was crucified, but it is what his death and resurrection is saying about our own lives. So in the Kundalini, as I just explained, the way you are born to compassion is you die to your lower animal instincts. And it is said that when you are born to compassion, that is what the second birth is. It is this childlike wonder that is all of a sudden alive in you, and everything is a possibility. You know, when you see a baby, they don't know anything about racism or hatred. All of this is taught, but when a child comes into the world, it is a neutral being filled with the joy that is inherent in all of life. Tina says, self-love is essential to helping others. Amen, Tina. Evies? Absolutely, we're all works in progress. This is our spiritual journey. Amen for that. And so that would be my homework assignment, without being too much of a homework assignment for all of you viewing, is in your life, remember that we're always radiating energy, and the energy that we send out is the energy we get back. So when you are going about your day tomorrow, I can suggest that whomever you interact with, remember, you're an aspect of the universe because you are made up of hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, helium, and carbon, and they are an aspect of the universe made up of the same 5 elements that the stars are made out of. We are all created from stars, and that's how solar systems are made. You have this nebulous cloud filled with these 5 basic building blocks. And how does it become a planet? Well, by the death of another star. And what happens is that other star implodes on itself and sends a shock wave throughout the universe, and it hits this nebulous cloud, and that shock wave then sets things in motion, and suddenly atoms start spinning around each other, and then elements, the heaviest, densest ones, start collecting in the center, and then that center becomes so dense that it forms its own gravity, and then that gravity attracts more and more elements to itself until it becomes so concentrated with the densest elements, such as iron, it then shines from itself, and then you have a star, and then that star has a gravity, and then it starts attracting more elements that start forming around it and become planets. And that's what happens when somebody's outside influence comes into our life and impacts it, and then starts setting things in motion, setting ideas in motion, and then we start having the most dense, pure aspects of our potential start to coalesce and bond within us until it's unshakable. And then if you've ever met somebody who's always radiant, those are people who are their own stars, and that is the goal of myself, is to be a shining example to all of you, and all of you likewise to be your own unique stars to myself and the world. Josephine says, it's been my experience that the rise of Kundalini energy feels like a fountain. Cup runneth over. Indeed. When you feel such bliss, you want to share it. The Om in my meditation balances energy flow when I need to realign it. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. My pleasure, Josephine. Thank you for your comment. And so be your own star. It's never about the other person. It's your response to what the other person is. And the way you neutralize that is, let's say somebody starts off really coarse with you. Recognize that people only act out of fear or love. And if it's anything that does not resemble love, it's only fear. And the way to neutralize that fear is to wear a smile. You know, people cannot help it. I can smile right now because I genuinely feel it. I feel so happy just having the opportunity to share all this with you. And I can, because I'm sending it out, I can sense that a lot of you are smiling as well. It's energy, and send a smile to the individual or individuals who are being coarse with you. And it is penetrating. It will penetrate. You may not see it in that moment, but it's there. And that's the way you neutralize anger, is you hate just begets more hate. But if you send somebody sends negativity to you, send positivity to you, and that neutralizes it. Thank you for the hearts. That's wonderful. Michael, truth, brother. Right on, Michael. I am smiling and feeling your vibes. Thank you, Tina. So I'd say that, does anyone have any questions? I will probably wrap this up soon, but it is my intention that to give some sort of content for an entire year, no matter where I am on this journey, because I want to give value to all of you, because I am learning that to see the value in myself. And what's the use of just seeing it in yourself? I want to see it in everybody else too. So please forward your questions. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your likes and hearts. If you find that my work is bringing value into your own life, and it can be of service to someone else, please share the link to my page or share these videos. We're all on this journey together. There's a big shift happening in the world, all over the world. And I feel that people are just aching to look for that savior figure. And the savior is not out there. Remember, the symbols of religion are really telling us something about ourselves. We must become our own saviors. And the way you lift somebody up is get yourself to higher ground. And what a blessing to have found this live broadcast. The universe always knows what you need, indeed. Amber says, thank you so much for the sharing. You're welcome, Amber. Tina, I shared to my page and my business page. Thank you, Tina. So with that, I am going to head out. But I appreciate seeing all of you here. I look forward to seeing more of you. And you can follow me on Instagram at Demetrius74. And that's DEMETRIUS 74. I'm also on Twitter. I'm figuring that one out. But my name is Alexander Demetrius. I've written The Reward of Not Knowing, A Hero's Inward Journey, which is available on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com, basically any online outlet. Yeah, thank you for your time. Very much enjoyed, says Jane. Thanks. You're welcome, Jane. Always a pleasure to be of service. And aloha.